What's up, you guys? It's Danny from Thrifted Wolf, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make some layered patchwork pants like these ones. Super cute and beginner friendly. Yeah, let's get to it. So to make this set, I usually like to use 3 to 5 different colors, and then one I like to do like a cool pattern or like a cheetah print. But if you're using 3 or 4 colors, try to keep them all like long sleeve sweaters, hoodies, or like pants, because you're gonna need a decent amount of fabric. But if you're using like 5 different colors, you could probably get away with like a t-shirt or two. But I'm just gonna use this blanket scrap, this like sweater cardigan thing, and another cardigan. So if you don't already have a pants pattern, you can buy this pattern on my website. It's only $10 and you get the physical copy. I just fold it up and send it in like a thick envelope. If you don't want to buy it, you can just cut up a pair of pants and then just add like an addition, because you're gonna cut off like the top elastic, because it should be like sweatpants, and just add like 3 inches to the top. But this is what I use for literally all the pants I make. So if you like the style or vibe of them, then you should definitely buy this. And I also have different patterns as well, so you could buy like multiple patterns and only pay the shipping one time. But since my blankets don't really need to be cut up, I'm just gonna cut these sweaters apart at the seams. I'm trying these new scissors. They're like spring loaded. Because I have really bad wrist pain. These scissors are great, but I've seen people use these, so I'm gonna try them. Whoa. These are nice. Usually I'll get scissors and like they'll be great, but then they'll only last like a week. So I'm not gonna fully recommend these yet. But if they end up working for a long time, I'll let you guys know. Also, I probably should have mentioned, you can use like something that will kind of tear easily, like a sweater. I'll show you guys how to sew it so it won't like fall apart. But I tried to keep this kind of like holey material to like a minimum. Like I usually only try to do one fabric like that if I do use it. You can see this sweater has like a border of this kind of like thicker material, so I'm gonna cut it out and use that as my drawstring for my pants. Alright, now that I have everything cut up, I'm gonna start laying pieces down. You can make these pieces as big or small as you want. I think it's cool to have like a smaller piece patchwork. I think it just also shows that like a lot of work went into it. So I always start at the bottom and then layer going up. So again, you can do this any way you want, but I like to do like points. I just think it looks cool. But you could do like just squares or curves or something. And then I just leave the top straight because the top of the patches are going to be covered. And I'm always very conscious on what colors I use. So next I'm going to use this color. Okay, so when you're using the sweater material, if it's like has little holes, all I do is I make sure I overlap it like quite a bit. This one isn't as prone to tearing, but some of the ones I use are like very prone. So I just overlap them like 2 finger spaces. So like you can see under here, I'm overlapping it that much. And then when I go to sew, I'm going to sew exactly on the edges. And then I'm going to sew a second time behind those stitches. You'll see when I start sewing. Okay, I'm really conscious about how I do this. So I'm gonna do a patch over here, and then you can see like these 3 colors are like close. So I'm gonna choose this color to put there. I do really like these scissors. It takes so little effort to cut, and I really hope they last because I love them. So like you can see, that was like that, but I always try to make the patches like on top go on top. It just makes it all like flow nicely together. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I just left like a little extra peeking through just for fun. And then, can you guess what color is gonna be next? It's gonna be this one, because this color is furthest away. So it might seem like maybe not that much effort goes into making stuff, but every single piece of fabric that I cut and place, it like has a purpose, and it's thought out. Like this, I don't like how these are both straight across, so I'm just gonna move this a different way. I like how it's like pointed, and then I think I'm gonna put this one over it. I feel like that looks nicer. I try to do the whole bottom before going up, but I'm getting a little carried away going that direction. I'll start to go over here. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to know what color to do. Like I want to do a color right here, but like they're all touching there. So like a small piece right here. And then another cheetah print piece right there. Okay, but yeah, you guys get the gist. I'm gonna finish this up and then I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, now I've gotten the whole thing laid down, and I don't know if you can tell, but I kind of had an idea to go from like smaller patches to like larger patches. And then there was like this pocket on one of the sweaters, so I included that. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be usable, but I did it in this area so it could be just like right on the side of your leg. So now I'm going to pin it. I'll probably use like half of this bowl. I use as much pins as possible. And when I pin like the sweaters that have a lot of holes, this one again isn't that bad, but I try to do like more pins than normal. Like you can see there's 2. Let me get you a little closer, maybe. You can see there's 2, and that's what I would normally do. But since it could easily fall apart when you go to like sew everything, the pins will fall out if it's like a holey sweater. And make sure you push the pins all the way to the ball. So like you're barely doing anything and you're pushing it all the way. Sometimes they still will fall out, but that's just part of it, I guess. And then with like the regular fabrics, you don't need that much. So yeah, now I'm just gonna pin all of this. And it's very time consuming, but worth it. Okay, so I finished pinning up this one, and then I also finished up the other leg. Just make sure when you start working on the other leg, you flip the pattern over because you don't want two of the same leg. And then when I sat and did this pattern, I made sure to so I lined up this one next to that one when I was pinning the new leg. And then I put this brown right here, so when they match up, the colors aren't clashing too bad. Like the cheetah print here is clashing a little bit, but it's not too big of a deal. And then at the top, I made sure to do different colors. And then when I did the other side, I had this next to it over here. And same thing, I just made sure the colors didn't clash too bad. Like you don't want two of the same colors. And then at the top, because those are all going to be touching. To sew everything together, I'm going to use a width of 3 and a length of 3. Sewing this together can be kind of tricky because there's just pins everywhere. I try to sew the most, the fabric that will probably be falling apart the most. So this one with all the holes, I try to sew all of those pieces first. And I'm not going to go on the very, very edge, but you'll see. So I'm letting a little bit of this overhang, but not much. So this is what it should look like. That's really hard to see. The stitching. There's all this overhang. Sometimes it's just a little bit. And then only on the fabric that will probably tear easily, like sweaters, I don't think I need to do on this one, but definitely this one. I'm going to sew it the same, sew it together again, but just a little bit over. And even though it's not on top, it's actually underneath this one, you still want to sew it 2 times in a row. So you can see I sewed it right there on the very edge, and then again over here. And this just keeps it from pulling apart. See, you can even see it's completely falling off my other fabric. And this happens a lot when I use sweaters like this. It's difficult, but I continue to do it because I just love this. I love sewing with fabrics like this. But yes, it is challenging. That's why I always do these ones first, because they do tend to fall off. And then for sewing just the other stuff together, just regular patches, just do the single stitch. Well, it's like a zigzag stitch, yeah. But you don't need to do it 2 times in a row. So this is how it should be looking. But if you don't like the way it looks, you can do another sewing, another line, overlapping that. But now I'm just going to go ahead and sew the rest. Okay, it is now nighttime. And I just finished sewing these after my son went to sleep. And I'm using my work light. So I hope it works all right. Like, hope the lighting is good. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how to make these into pants. You're going to fold it so the outside's on the inside. And you're going to find these points. And you're going to pin from the point all the way to the bottom. And then same with this one. Fold it in. And you're going to pin from the point to the point. To sew these together, I'm going to do a width of 0 and a length of 1. Alright, now that I have both of the legs sewn, it's time to attach them to each other. Alright, so you can see that this is like the opening and then the bottoms. So I'm going to take the opening and I'm going to put it together. Grab these two and pin that together. And then you're just going to pin this all the way around. Sorry if it's kind of confusing. You're just pinning where they line up. And make sure, like, the crotches, the two, you can see, like, this is the line that we sewed, and this is the line that we sewed. Oh no, where's my pin? Just make sure those two are beside one another. And then just kind of flipping it around. Lining up these together. Alright, it should look like this. And then you're going to sew all the way around using the same stitch style that we used for sewing the legs together. Now I finished sewing that together. And this is my favorite part, turning them right side out to see how they've turned out. Okay, looking good. Looking good. It's giving like hippie jungle vibes. Alright, now it's time to add the waistband and the little ankle cinches. So I use 1-inch elastic, and for the waistband you can just make it whatever size that you want. I like to make it a size where it fits like baggy, like pretty baggy, so then I can tighten it if I want, or I can have it baggy. And also it'll fit my boyfriend if he wants to wear them. And for the ankle pieces, I do those at 11 inches, and it's just the 1-inch elastic cut in half. So to sew the elastics together, I'm going to use a width of 2 and a length of 2. And basically, I just like to go back and forth like 3 times. Alright, first I'm going to show you guys how to pin the waistband. So you're going to lay it down the top of your pants and make sure they're pretty flat and even, and you want the seams to be lined up. Then you're going to want to open up the inside and start to lay this down, and make sure this like weird bulge from the elastic is facing this way so you'll sew it and not have that thing. But line it up to this back stitch perfectly in half where the elastic is, like it's equal on both sides. And then pin this back one. And then you're going to want to pin it low enough so you have enough of this to fold over it. So this is like this, and you're going to do the same thing on this side. You're going to open it, and you're going to pin it right there. And make sure there's enough to fold over. And then you're going to find the half points. This is the half point of here, half point. I'm trying to do this kind of quickly for this tutorial. If you want it like way more in depth and like slowed down, I'm going to put a link to the long version tutorial of doing the elastic waistband in the description below. To sew the waistband and the ankles, I do a width of 5 and a length of 4. So I just like to start after a pin, and you're going to be sewing on the top of the elastic. And depending on how big you make your waistband, like if you made it like for a size large person, you won't need to stretch it that much. But if it's like fitting a size small, you're going to have to stretch it more. But by seeing where your next pin is how much you're going to have to stretch it. So I can see I got to stretch it this much to make it to my next pin. So you're going to want to hold it with your left hand and stretch with your right. And take your time because this is kind of hard. And sometimes maybe check, make sure you have enough fabric to be folded over. And I always have to readjust. Take the pin out, and then stretch it to the next pin. The next part is just to fold this over and sew it down. But you're going to want to sew on the left side. Sometimes you still got to stretch, because if you sew it like this, it's going to be all clumped and weird. So stretch, hold with the left, sew. Adjust, fold, stretch, hold. Oh no. See, I've been doing this for how many years, and things still go wrong for me. I'm stuck. There's just like this string that's stuck, it seems like. There we go. Here's how the waistband turned out. Now on to the elastic on the bottoms. If you just cut up a regular pair of like sweatpants or pants, this probably will not work for you. So I would say that this part of the tutorial is only if you cut up pants that have the elastic or you bought my pattern. So this one is pretty easy. You don't need to pin it. You just line it up and kind of eyeball. You can pin it if you want, but I feel like that'd be really hard. So do your starting stitch and you're just gonna have to eyeball like this same size over here, if that makes sense. Enough to fold over. And when you sew it, you're just gonna have to stretch it as much as it will go. As much as ugh. I got a tickle in my throat. You're just gonna stretch it as far as it can go all the way around. And then after that, you're just gonna fold it over and sew it down. And I try to sew like right on the edge, kind of. Because then if you're sewing like right here, then all this is gonna be like bundled up. So that's why I try and sew on the edge of that. Let's see how we're looking. These are gonna be so comfortable. And that's how the elastic on the ankles turned out. They're basically done, but I'm gonna show you guys how I added drawstring. This is probably like not professional at all, but this is just what I do. I just find the front seam. It's like a clean seam in the front. And I just cut little holes on both sides. Well, actually, when it's a fabric like this, you don't need to cut a hole. It's probably best if you don't, because it'll probably unravel. And this is that fabric that I saved from that sweater. And I just put it through a pin. And just push it through. And here is the final product. Super cute and comfortable, different, fashionable, all of the above. And this is the matching tank top I made for this set. In this set, I did do a corset tie, which I also explain in the patchwork tank top tutorial. They're so cute. There's a little pocket. It's more for looks. I don't know if you can really use that. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you guys all enjoyed and found it useful. And you can find a bunch of other DIY tutorials on my YouTube, like how to make a matching patchwork tank top to go with your pants that you just made. And I also have a tutorial on how to make a patchwork wizard hoodie. Had to tilt the camera a bit so you guys can see. Hopefully you can still see the top. But yeah, I love this whole set. It's such a vibe and it's super comfortable. Alright, I needed to go a little higher so you can get the whole view of how cool this hoodie is. It's just like the whole fit together is so good. Yeah, the tutorial for this is on my page, and I also have patterns to make all this stuff on my website. Everything you need is going to be linked in the description below. But yeah, that is all, and I'll see you guys next time.